Hey everyone, welcome back to the Integrity Botanicals YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be I was like looking through my list of what I've reviewed and what I have not, and I cannot believe I haven't talked about these yet. So we're swinging back to Vapour. You know, Vapour rebranded, God, has it been almost a year now? It's been quite some time. They rebranded, repackaged, released new products, nixed some old ones, and one that they have reformulated but brought back is their Aura multi-sticks. And these Aura multi-sticks look a little something like this. The repackaging on the Vapour products is one of my most favorite things that they've done. These products feature this really gorgeous robin egg matte blue. And what I like about this packaging is that it doesn't collect fingerprints, which I think is really nice. It's not like that NARS type of rubbery matte. It's just beautiful. So the shade name is going to be on the bottom as well. I do wish the sticker sort of reflected the shade inside so you could tell them apart a little bit more easy, but that's not make or break, just something to notice. And then you pop the cap off and you get a ton of product here. Very, very similar to how the old packaging was. It's really just the color that is different. So these will run you $36. And if you're unfamiliar with the concept of these products, they are a cream multi-stick, like the name would suggest, and they are meant to be able to be used on the cheeks, lids, and the lips. So a lot of brands make this claim. When they do make this claim, I do find that I have a preference of an area that I like to use them. But I don't think that's a downside. I think using it on the lids and lips is just an extra, but I predominantly love these as a cream blush, though I do have it on my lips today and I'm quite enjoying it. It's just not my most go-to method of using these. So I wanted to discuss all the shades with you. I of course wanted to speak about the formulation because a lot of the Vapour products have incredibly mixed opinions, because I think it was a very hard move on Vapour's end to completely repackage and reformulate a new line of products when you already had an existing one. While there was room for improvement, there are still people out there who were in love with your existing one. So changing it is just tricky, even if it's for the greater good. So I'm very familiar with the old formulation. I wanted to speak to my experience with this product as well. And then I will show you a really short demonstration of me applying this to my cheeks and my lips today, just so you could kind of see them in action and get a better feel for the product. But I'm gonna start off with the shades and then we'll touch a little bit on the formulation, yeah? So first up is gonna be the shade Spark. Spark is the shade I have on my cheeks today. This was a shade that was existing in their former collection and it was always my favorite. And that is because it is this really beautiful, peachy, apricot sort of shade. It's incredibly warm, it's incredibly beautiful. Like I said, it is my favorite, mostly for the cheeks. This color isn't really for me on the lips, but I think this is really ultra flattering, great shade for summer, and looks good on like a light to a medium complexion, not quite tan. I think it would just be a little too light, but Vapour does do a great job at adding a little bit more deep colors in the line, which we will discuss. Next up is the shade Sultry, and Sultry is going to be a favorite as well because it is that more NARS orgasmy sort of color. This is a peachy pink shade. All of them, I believe, are matte. I'm going to include a swatch photo down below. So this one's a lot deeper. This one will work on a much more wide variety of skin tones as well, but it still kind of has the same vein. It's quite warm. It goes with any eye look. You don't really have to worry. This is a very simple, easy to use shade that looks good on the lips as well as the cheeks, which I really, really love. Next up, we have the shade Eros. Eros was another existing line. I don't know if Sultry was. I think the shade Vibe is the only new one, but regardless, the next shade is the shade Eros, and this shade I have always loved. This is one I really like for the lips, but it also looks really great on the cheeks. It's just more of a tawny rose. It's a little bit more mauve-y than peachy pink. It's a little bit more of a neutral shade as well. Again, very, very universally flattering. I like things like this when I'm going for a very classic eye. So if I was to do a more neutral toned, really sculpted sort of 90s eye, I do sort of enjoy shades like that. It's just a little bit more rosy than peach. So I know that's all up to personal preference, but that's another really great matte shade. Then we have the shade Vibe. Vibe is what's on my lips right now, and this one I think is really, really fun for summer. This is described as a berry pink. I think it is very that. It has a little bit more purple to it than the other shades, but it's still rosy. It's actually quite similar to Eros, but a little bit brighter and a little bit more purple. So on a deeper complexion, I think that would be just lovely. And again, I am wearing it on my lips and quite enjoying it, might I add. finally is a shade that was definitely existing before, and this is the shade Courtesan. And Courtesan is a classic rose shade. I do remember this one being a little bit more hot pink. I think it was a little bit brighter, but the pigment on these is still really, really nice. That's it right there. So it's not quite a hot pink, but it's a little bit more of a brighter, rosy pink that's still very wearable. Will add a lot of life to the cheeks. And this is another one where if you want to do cheeks and lips, I think that is a great winning combination. So that's all 5 shades. I do wish there was a little bit more variety. Spark is going to be the most different. They all are different enough, but I think if you can find one shade that you are in love with, I really do think you would get some use out of it, especially if you are a cream blush fan. Now, to address some of the mixed opinions on this product, a lot of people are saying they're not as pigmented, they don't dry down. Like, I really, really miss the old formula. For me, I think initially they're a little more waxy, so they do require a little bit more warming up with the fingertip, but I think the Kjaer Weis blushes require that same treatment as well. There's a lot of cream items that require that, and I think that is a good sign because it means they are not overly emollient, and in turn, I think are a little bit easier to control, as well as work on a wider variety of skin types, because if it's overly emollient, I think that immediately turns oily skin people off, if you know what I mean. Not only that, I think these have really nice pigmentation. It's not like you have to like build it up forever and it's so waxy and hard that you're getting nothing on the cheeks. I have not had that experience with any single one of these shades. Like I said, once you warm them up, they really are good to go. Then you stash them in the drawer and then they kind of cool down and need to be warmed up again. But again, I think that makes them easier to travel with. I think it makes them really nice regardless. And I had no issues with that with the prior formula either. I will say maybe the prior formula had a little bit initial color payoff, but for me, I always would much rather build up the product, specifically something like cream blush, because cream blush is something that I put on last, honestly, like as far as skin makeup's concerned. So I would go in with foundation, concealer, setting powder underneath the eyes, bronzer, highlight, then I'm gonna finish off with my blush. So for it all to be ruined, if it's overly pigmented, that would be quite upsetting for me, or for it to require so much work because it's so pigmented. It's much easier to build a product up and take a little extra second there and really make sure it looks natural on the skin than to make it subdued again, because then you gotta start going in with foundation, then you worry about it being blotchy, you worry about pulling makeup off underneath. The only thing I will say is that these are maybe a little bit shinier, so they don't totally dry down on the skin. There is a slight tack to these. You can see my hair is like always in my face. It's not at all sticking or feeling annoying and uncomfortable, but that is something to take note of because they are not like the world's thinnest formula in the world. They're not by any means thick. I am not saying that. They're just kind of somewhere in the middle. That is something that you do need to be mindful of. I'm sure you could take a little light dusting of powder and put that on top, but I do like that they have this reflective shine. In fact, I think I could have went without highlighter if I wanted to save a step. As far as the multi-use of these, I think they're the best on the cheeks. They are nice on the lips, specifically if you want a more monochromatic look. I don't know if I would use a different blush and then use this as my lip product despite how beautiful the shades are. It's just not something I could see myself really reaching for, but something I really don't use them for is the eyelids, and that's because they are a little bit more of a tacky formula. However, if you want to do a monochromatic look, I have used them in all 3 places before. They blend just fine. The pigment's really nice. I just think you need to figure out what it is that you really like these for, experiment and play, and take those all as extra things, you know what I mean? Because I think if it's a great cream blush, awesome. If I could use it on my lips and eyes, even better, but I'll take it for the cream blush alone, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to address that. I am going to show you me applying these products. You can see sort of how I work with them, and maybe the way I work with them will be a little bit more helpful for you. If you have any direct questions as to what you are struggling with this product, let me know. Maybe there's something I could do to help. Maybe it's just not for you. That's a possibility as well. But I just had no beef with these. I think that they're really great. I think they're quite comparable to the other formula. I don't notice any enormous differences outside of pigmentation and maybe the overall sort of like texture to them, but they're really not that sticky, you guys. It's really not that bad. And I think specifically if you have dry skin, you'll really, really like these. And I think dry skin folk usually like cream products in general, more often anyways. So that's my 2 cents. I'm going to quickly cut over to the demo because I think that will be very helpful for you. And then I will come back and sign off. All right, so I wanted to actually show you how I apply this product. It's really simple. I like to apply cream blush, just no matter the formula, really, with my fingers, because I just think it allows you to get the most natural look on the skin. And I've always liked to do bronzer, highlight, and blush finally. So I do have everything else on my face, excluding that. And then I will throw on some lipstick too, of course. I will actually probably show you these on my lips, even though that is not my most favorite way to apply them. So since I'm going for a more golden look today, I chose to use the shade Spark. This one is one of my more favorite shades. I do like a more warm tone, as you all know, so this is what I'm gonna use. And like I said, I'm gonna use my fingers. So this is a little bit more of a waxy formula. I wouldn't really suggest going like this. Not that you can, it just, you do run the risk of it lifting your makeup. So instead, I'm just going to take my finger, I'm gonna use my middle finger. Your ring finger will always apply the least amount of pressure. Warm up the product. It warms up really, really quickly. You don't have to work that long. So that's the color. It's gorgeous. And I'm just going to first just kind of tap, 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 starting at the apple of my cheek, and then I'm gonna work it on back. So you can see, you can't really see it quite yet. I could see it on in the mirror, but on camera with all the lights, it kind of gets washed out. So I'm just going to layer this up. And like I mentioned when I was talking about the product, like reviewing them, a lot of reviews that I see, a lot of people are talking about the difference in pigmentation. But for me, I've always much rather build up a blush, because it's not like this is nothing. If nothing was showing up on my skin, it's just waxy and hard, I would totally understand that. But just because it's not full on with one touch, I think it even looks more natural to build it up regardless. So I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. I like quite a bit of blush as well. So there's that. Let me zoom in actually so you can see the difference between my two cheeks. It gives just a really nice, healthy, natural amount of color that really just goes well with the eye look that I have on today. So I'm gonna zoom you in. All right, so there it is on my cheek, super natural. This is one without. You can see it sits really nicely. This formula doesn't like completely dry down. It's not sticky tacky, but there's a tiny little touch of tack. Since it's not a thick formula, I don't really think that's something that you have to worry about, however. So I do just want to put that out there. This is how it looks on the skin. I think it sits really nicely. It adds a really nice glow to the skin as well, because it never fully dries down and gets very thin. So I'm gonna apply it on my other cheek here, and then I will apply a little bit on my lips as well. I'm using a different color so you could see how it looks on the lips. All right, so I'm gonna do something a little deeper on the lips, I think, just for fun. I'm gonna use the shade Vibe. And I'm actually just gonna go straight in from the, actually, you know what? You could go straight in with the bullet, but I think I'm gonna do the same way. I'm gonna warm it up on my fingers and push it on the lips instead. I don't really use these on the lips, but I actually really like that for a subtle little tinge of color, especially if you're looking to do a tonal look. You can see it's not sitting in any of the fine lines, which I like as well. It is a more thin formula, so I don't know if it's going to last like that all day. I can imagine it settling, especially if it's a little bit of a deeper color, but I could see that it's not collecting in the lines immediately, which that's a good sign, because then it'll get really dark there. You'll notice that right away. And then you can always throw a gloss on top as well. Not only that, this is really easy to throw in the purse and reapply. So I think that's a perk as well. So. All right, everyone, that is it. I came, I swatched, I demoed. I hope that helped, because I know I read every single comment and I saw a lot of frustration with these items, or maybe just confusion as to why they are so different from their initial launch. But I still think they're really, really great. I hope that my tips on how I like to apply cream products was helpful for you as well. But if you enjoyed this video, you want to see more Vapour reviews, I've done a lot of them. I will include those in the description box down below, as well as a swatch photo and direct links to this item if you'd like to check it out. like I said, any questions you have, please let me know. I am here to help. But most importantly, please do give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe. It is so incredibly helpful. If you'd like to share any of my videos that I make that you really enjoyed, that would be super helpful as well. I would so very much appreciate it. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.